So, Bill, we were just talking about the fact that you had been placed on dialysis. And I'm just wondering, how long into the process was it before you and your nephrologist began talking about the possibility of a transplant?
Well, it happened fairly early in the process, probably in the first couple of days when we found out the extent of the kidney damage, and my reaction was like, I'm on dialysis now, so how long is that going to last before my kidneys are fixed? And the nephrologist said, well, it's not going to fix your kidneys; it's just going to keep you alive. You need a transplant to be off dialysis.
And Bill, you had mentioned how fortunate you felt that you had a group of people step up and be tested. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I had 5 living donors who were qualified: my wife, my 2 boys, a friend, and my sister-in-law.
So, how far into the 2 years that you were on dialysis did your friends and family step up to be tested to be a living donor?
It was about a year into the process. Yeah, because Bill had to be, some hurdles to get over with his health first before he was actually declared a candidate. But you wrote a letter, encouraged by the kidney people in St. Paul's, to write a letter to family and friends explaining your situation. That was a tough one. That's a big ask, to put it out there that I need a kidney, and would you think about donating to me?
So, Sharon, you were actually one of the 5 living donors tested to be a donor match for Bill. Tell us about that process.
It was an interesting process because at the very beginning, they tell you this is an extensive qualification of your health. And we may find other things that you might not be aware of at this time, which may disqualify you and then send you on another path in your health journey. I thought, well, actually, I looked at that as an opportunity. I've been very healthy all my life. Extra testing at my age, I was 66 at the time. That won't hurt. And I have to say that the whole process that the kidney group in St. Paul's puts forward makes it very easy, very quick to get all the scans that you need. Involved going to Vancouver for some of the testing.
You were mentioning to me before that actually something happened to interrupt this living donor process.
What happened was I had a reaction to one of the drugs I was on. So it lowered my white blood cell count. So it lowered some of my blood chemistry to the point where I was in a critical situation and I needed a transfusion. I got a transfusion at Comox Hospital, and that transfusion changed the antibodies in my blood. So it knocked all of my 5 living donors off the list. They were no longer compatible. So that was a real shock to the system. On top of that, at about the same time, I had prostate cancer. I had to go through that process where I had a prostate operation, and that delayed my transplant process and availability. So that was all happening about 1 year into the process. So it took me another year before I was able to get the transplant.
I'm sorry to hear that. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, it was a major disappointment. Put me in a space of thinking that, well, it's going to come eventually, but I don't want to get my hopes up. Because when you have 5 potential donors, you think, okay, it's going to work here.
Yeah. And the conversation in our family when we were all compatible with Bill was who was going to get the opportunity to do it. My boys were very clear that, Mom, you're going to have to take care of Dad. So it's going to be between them to decide who's going to do it. And of course, we also had Bill's friend who was there at the plate also, and my sister. When you make a choice to become a donor, is that the counseling facilities that are available to you at St. Paul's, they're with you every step of the way, asking you, is this the right decision? Do you know what it's going to be like when your husband has a transplant? So they're checking your emotional and your mental health.
So the blood transfusion actually changed things so that all 5 matches were no longer compatible. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Part of that, though, is that because I had stepped up to be a donor, I could enter into the paired program, where Bill could enter into the national program.
So that's the paired exchange program. Sharon, did you enter into the paired exchange program?
Well, I was entered into that program, but Bill's health was still going on a bit of a roller coaster. I don't think he became a candidate. I think that runs every 3 months or 4 months.
I missed a couple.
He missed a couple of them.